Hello, today I'm going to be going over mag here. So for Archon shards, really only ones that matter here are these casting speed shards. These three red shards from an old build I was doing. For this build, you really only need to hit the strength for your 4 to 100% armor strip, which is 134. I used to need these before, but now I currently don't. So, yeah, you can put whatever you want here. If you want to put more casting speed, you can. I'm using Magnetize 50% also. 50% casting speed, so if you do not have that, I recommend running more casting speed shards to make up for that. Whether that's, I mean, if you want to run 2 more normals, you can, or just running 3 Alforged. As for the build here, it is based around using Breach Surge. We activate Breach Surge with Crush. Those Breach Surge particles get trapped in our Magnetize, and they do a few million damage consistently. And then when our bubble pops, it does like 100 million damage to everything in the area. So this build is very much based on just spamming abilities. And that is why I'm running both Equilibrium and Energize, because this is very energy, what is the word? Heavy. Can't think of the word currently, but yeah. Uses a lot of energy, so I recommend using multiple things of energy economy. Which to mention, if you don't want to run Equilibrium as a mod, of course feel free to replace these 3 shards with purple Equilibrium shards. Besides that, we are buffing our Breach Surge with Arcane Arachne and Worthy Camaraderie. This applies 75% to the already guaranteed crit, making it so they have a 75% chance to orange crit. And this adds 150% damage to our Breach Surge. Arcane Arachne applies to things like Breach Surge as well as Nova's Null Stars. Besides that, like I said, we are just above the, or we are pretty well above the strength we need. We'd be at 139 without those shards, so basically just at the thing without the red shards. Using both the augments, this augment for the casting speed and for the armor strip, as well as this is our main method of survivability. As each enemy hit gives us 42 shields, and with 55 shields, this will basically, whenever we cast this, it'll max out our shields, giving us that 1.7 second shield gate. Magnetize for the extra range. Besides that, we are running nearly max range, except for without Cunning Drift, because we're running sure-footed. If you have another method to prevent knockdown and you want to run Cunning Drift here instead of sure-footed, go for it. Besides that, this is the build. If you are still struggling on energy economy, you can always run Transient Fortitude here, and then run something like either you would then have to run change 2 of these red shards into Talforge shards to get up to 135 strength, or you would have to also replace range or Augur Reach for Augur Secrets to get just above that strength. And with this, you can also remove one of those red strength shards. However, with that also, you could drop Energize for something else. But I like having this negative efficiency. But then we just basically make up for that with Energize, and then we get a decent multiplier on our Breach Surge. Anyways. As for weapons, primary and melee don't matter for this build. I just use the Latum here for Acolytes. This is Ninjaze's Devouring Attrition build. I have a Riven here. Don't remember what this is, but if you want to look up the build, you can. If not, what is this? Multi-shot damage. So I'll put something related to that there. But again, I don't really use a Latum, except for in the beginning to get energy, and for the Acolytes. For the companion here, we are using Nautilus. We use Cordon, because a lot of the time, which is also added to our survivability, we just sort of sit in our Magnetize bubble, and then Cordon will pull enemies into it. Synth Deconstruct for the Equilibrium, and Tenacious Bond, because this 1.2 times damage, critical damage multiplier does apply to Breach Surge. Guardian provides extra survivability. And besides that, because we're running Tenacious Bond, you don't actually need to run Calculate Redirection. This is just here because basically copied out from this. This can really be whatever you want it to be. Put something like that there. I'm using Prime Laser Rifle just to have the Vigi set if I want to have the Vigi set. However, if you just want to get the Synth Deconstruct, Taz Core is probably the best, so I'm going to be using that. It's the most enemies. So let's hop into a mission here.
Accept your death, and you may yet avoid it. Trust in your training.
Pick me up something fancy. The Orican Neural Sentry is attempting to purge
Like I
you
said,
from
just use
space.
a vitamin start
Stand by
here
for
just to
like-
get our energy up initially.
I'm game.
Typically start casting when I hit around 400 to 500 energy. As like I said, this build is very energy intensive. Oh, there we go.
Bye-bye now.
So caster 2, caster 1, crush, and then as you saw we got a few million there. And then basically we can just stand in here, enemy projectiles will just come into the bubble. And then once our bubble explodes, it should do pretty decent damage to everyone around. Yep, there's 100 million. Then another group of enemies. 1, 2, 4. And this is basically it.
Didn't need those organs, did ya?
Bubble gameplay. Cordon pulls enemies into the bubble, which then causes them to take all the breach surge damage. Where's our bubble here this time? If you want to shoot, you can shoot. Shooting will just add your little latum things. As you can see, all my latum projectiles, middle there. But yeah, that's basically it for this build. Just keep repeating this, and then when you see an acolyte, just hit him with the latum. As you can see, I'm using a lot of energy here, so this is why I recommend all of that. Oh, I'm gonna pop instantly. There we go. I know there is a damage cap to the bubble, so I might have just hit that there is what happened. Not sure what the exact amount is. But yeah, that is it for this. Thank you for watching.